G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and today we're going to talk about the Battle of Phall. The Battle of Phall is the second in this sort of series I'm doing where I look at different battles in the Horus Heresy and sort of do a tactical overview of the battle, I guess you could say. Bird's eye view of what happened, what the general's actions were, where they moved, that kind of thing. So it should be a bit of fun. Today, yes, as I say, the Battle of Phall, and this lovely tiny little planet on screen right now is Phall. So, what is the Battle of Phall? Well, basically, at the beginning of the Horus Heresy, Dawn dispatched about a third of his legion's strength, about 300 companies or 30,000 Astartes, and about 500 warships to join up with the attack on Istvan V. However, thanks to warp storms, they never made it there. The force was originally to be commanded by Sigismund, the first captain of the Imperial Fists. However, he declined it because of reasons that we'll go into another time. And what ends up happening is Captain Yonad, who is the master of the fleet, becomes the guy in charge of the Retribution fleet. Now, as the Retribution fleet is travelling in system, or travelling through warp space, I should say, they basically hit hard warp storms and they lose a lot of ships. They lose hundreds of ships, in fact. And what ends up happening is the surviving warships are deposited into the Phall system, and his second in command, Alexis Pollux, well, he ends up taking over because Yonad is killed as a result of their ship being destroyed, and Pollux is found drifting in the void, and lucky for everyone, is brought back aboard one of the Imperial Fist ships and takes over command of the fleet. So, the fleet is now at 363 warships, including escorts when they arrive in the Phall system. The scattered fleet under the command of Pollux makes their way in system. Pollux sends out different ships in different directions, using them to probe to try and find ways out of the system and through the warp storm, and they have no success. They're basically becalmed here for months. In this time, he sets up slowly a defensive cordon, sending ships out to the fringes, and eventually they form an encirclement. The fleet itself circles up in a sphere near the planet itself, the ocean planet of Phall, with elements further out in the system to A, warn of potential enemies arriving, and B, in order to try and find ways through the warp storm. Pollux himself is very new to this sort of senior level of command, and he's very unsure of his abilities. However, Imperial Fists, being the stoic bastards that they are, they all obey him unflinchingly, which is, pretty good for him. In this time, he decides that since they can't find a way out, the chances are the enemy is going to find a way in, therefore they should be ready. So they spend pretty much all of their time training, and drilling for void warfare. Now, as they're moving around the planet and scouting out things, eventually they stumble across a psychic beacon. The missing inhabitants of the planet Phall were entombed in small spacecraft around the world, or pods, and together are used to create a psychic beacon, which obviously the traitors can find. Upon learning of this, Perturabo assembles the Iron Warriors fleet. One of his warsmiths, Barosius, he says he'd like to lead the fleet. Perturabo says he'll do it himself. He believes that the only person who could possibly be in charge of such a huge fleet would be the first Captain Sigismund himself. Knowing how close Dawn and Sigismund are to one another, and how great an Astartes he is, and how favourably he's viewed by every legion, Perturabo wants to make a prize of him. So, they know where the Imperial Fists are, they know their numbers, and they know their rough fleet layout thanks to this psychic beacon. So, Perturabo plans accordingly. They translate into the system. Immediately, 100 ships, led by Perturabo's own flagship, close in, destroying the scouts that they come across, and then moving further in system rapidly. Here is a sort of dramatised layout, obviously not scaled, but you can tell what's what in the image. There's Alexis Pollux's flagship. There's Commander Tyre, who is the other senior Imperial Fist captain in the engagement, Perturabo's flagship, and Erasmus Golg's ship, the Contrador. As they move in system, the Iron Warriors quickly dispatched of several ships, including the Hammer of Terror and 12 of her sisters. The Imperial Fist's Grand Cruiser Sulla fired a single salvo before it was destroyed. All the destroyers that were nearby and escorts were also wiped out in the explosion. The Crusader and Legate lasted scant seconds longer. Now, Perturabo's plan at this point is to fly into the heart of the Imperial Fist. He thinks Sigismund's in charge, and he knows he's hot-headed. He knows that Sigismund is going to want to fight. He'll be spoiling for it. And basically Perturabo is planning on a war of attrition. They're going to be fighting one-on-one, fleet versus fleet, ships firing broadsides into one another. However, that's not Pollux's style of warfare. Now, despite the Iron Warriors outnumbering the Imperial Fists, being fresh for the fight, and having stronger ships, regards to having a Gloriana-class battleship, what ends up happening is the Imperial Fists don't fall for this ruse. The Iron Warriors immediately plunge forward for the centre of the Imperial Fist line, destroying ships as they go. However, the Imperial Fists rapidly move forward to envelop the Iron Warriors. Small wings of attack craft then launch their own attacks against the Iron Warriors. The Imperial Fist's cruiser Veritas and its destroyer wing now cuts forward towards the Iron Warriors' fleet. They target the Kelebos, which was a grand cruiser, so quite a powerful warship, and manage to take it out. The two fleets then close into one another, with the Imperial Fists essentially concentrating their entire forces on the flanks of the Iron Warriors' fleet. Multiple ships are destroyed in this engagement, however the Iron Warriors are copying the worst of it. As the engagement moves on, the Imperial Fists close in, basically ensnaring the Iron Warriors in encirclement, and they're starting to pick off their ships with ease. However, during the battle, Commander Tyre spots Perturabo's flagship, and realising that Perturabo himself is in the void, Pollux assigns 50 warships to Tyre's direct command, with the single order to kill Perturabo. These ships then make a beeline directly for the Primarch's flagship. Whilst the engagement continues and the Imperial Fists continue to gain the upper hand, Perturabo is not aware of the trap that's headed his way. It is at this point, however, as the Imperial Fists finally are closing the net and the Iron Warriors start to counterattack, that the Imperial Fists are diverted away by an order from Terra. Pollux, being a true son of Dawn, makes the hard call to flee. With this, the combined fleet starts to retreat. However, the Imperial Fist fleet gets savaged. As the Imperial Fists retreat, many of their ships are destroyed as they're unable to bring their firepower to bear at their rear. The Iron Warriors are basically shooting fish in a barrel at this point. Now, Commander Tyre successfully boards Perturabo's flagship, the Iron Blood, a Gloriana-class battleship, with a full complement of Terminators, over 50 strong, and many companies of Space Marines. Their plan is to kill the Primarch, and their warships are destroyed in their absence. Meanwhile, Alexis Pollux's flagship pulls up alongside Erasmus Golg's flagship, and the two ships battle it out, with Alexis Pollux's already damaged ship coming off far worse. As his ship is destroyed, however, Pollux leads a surprise attack onto the Iron Warriors' ship, whilst the Iron Warriors launch their own attack onto Pollux's ship. Pollux, however, orders his crews to self-destruct his warship. As they do so, all of the remaining attack craft, strike craft, drop pods, dreadclaws, you name it, that are on Pollux's flagship, immediately launch at the Contrador, Erasmus Golg's flagship. The Iron Warriors aboard Pollux's flagship, the Tribune, are all consumed in the explosion, and the explosion knocks out the sensors of the Contrador, which doesn't see the assault companies coming. Pollux and most of the Imperial Fist forces that were on his ship managed to successfully counterboard the Contrador. During the swift fighting that takes place, they are able to overwhelm and kill Erasmus Gold and the Iron Warriors aboard the ship. However, at the same time, Commander Tyre and all his forces are also killed by Perturabo himself in his throne room, and they do nearly succeed in killing the Primarch. Pollux and his forces now seek to perform a ruse. They basically tell the Iron Warriors, yep, everything's okay, we're just going to go this way for a bit. And they flee the system. So ends the Battle of Phall. It could have been Imperial Fist's victory, and as it was a costly battle for the Iron Warriors. However, at the end of the day, the Imperial Fists did make the hard call, and probably the incorrect one, to actually flee the system. And rather than killing the Primarch and averting a lot of trouble further down the line, well, basically they just lost their fleet. So, bit of a shame, but they did go down swinging. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed the episode in a slightly different format, with using actual ships, explosions, that kind of thing in the diagram, so it's very easy to tell what's what and what's going on. We'll further refine this series as we go along, and hopefully we find something that everyone likes. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.